First time I have had to call Chris's father home. I got in this because we were actually going somewhere today, or we were supposed to. There's toys everywhere. I told him to bring him out of his room because he was going to have to sit on his bed and not play, and you can't trust him to do that. So he threw them everywhere. There's just stuff everywhere. I can't even. We go through this every year. He goes back to school. School thinks that they know better. They go through this process where they think that they know better what he's capable than we do. And then he gets in this situation where he's getting away with stuff that at home he doesn't do at all. Because he sees this as a sort of way of undermining authority by just basically being a brat. And we actually saw it. Nobody said anything. He basically got out of his chair at school, just started walking around like he owned the classroom. He wasn't listening to the lesson, and we actually saw them blatantly allow this. Nobody said, "Hey, Chris, you need to sit down. There's going to be consequences if you don't sit down." Nobody did a damn thing. So now he started that at home, even though he knows the rule is you need to be excused from the table. So he takes whatever he gets at school and he tries to apply it at home. Today, I dealt with most of the day being yelled at and screamed at. It got to the point where, after all that I deal with and everything that I have to deal with right now, I just kind of went, and I was like, okay, you want to scream at me? I'm going to scream back. It's not adult. Anyway, I called his dad. He's coming home because I can't deal with this anymore today. And Chris is acting like he's just won the battle. And this all started because, he was being a brat earlier and he was turning it around. And then he found out that we were going to the store because we didn't go Thursday. And that we were going to go and do the shopping and then come home. And so he's like, without dad? And then suddenly he's like, wow, I need to puke. And he decides, he's shoving and he's going, to make himself puke, shoving his tongue down his throat. It's the same thing that he used to do whenever, he didn't want to eat what was put in front of him, so he would pretend to be sick. And so he did this. And it started with that, and then everything devolved from there. And it was already a bad day. Chris didn't want to, he just doesn't want to do anything that he's told today. And he thinks that because he gets away with some level of crap at school, that if he pushes the envelope and pretends like he's incapable at home now and tries to flip the script on that at home, that he'll get away with it here. The thing of it is that he's in a special classroom. They don't seem to understand that he is capable of doing things with normal amounts of redirection, with normal consequences. Like, you hit somebody, you better damn well be sending him up to the office. He needs normal consequences. Whenever you try to treat him like these behaviors don't need consequences, this is what happens. So now, I'm sitting in the middle of everything with toys spilled everywhere, with books thrown around, and I can't. Today is just an I can't sort of day. I'm arranging for us to move. I'm trying to coordinate everybody to get boxes. I'm dealing with all of this stuff. On top of it, I am hot as hell because one of our box fans went out, and I am just I'm done. And you can actually hear it because my vocal cords go out very easily. Where right now, it's actually taking quite a bit of effort for me to even talk because of the damage that was done a few years back to my vocal cords. I actually screamed until it was beyond what my voice can even do anymore. I got so tired of being screamed at. And he was screaming at me the whole... he actually screamed at me less whenever I did that. I'm not going to excuse it, but I am going to say I've reached a breaking point. And I called his dad to come home. Because I can't. I just can't. This kid is an absolute brat. And he's acting like he's won. Like, that's what he wanted. He thinks that his dad's going to come home and we're all going to go to the store. No, you... I can't. I just can't. That's not what's going to happen. See, he's gotten back to the point where he thinks that he can rule everything. Because that's what he does in class. And what we saw was actually pretty minor. But they were still, like, treating this like he just couldn't control himself. Bitch, please! He doesn't need this stuff at home. I have seen this kid focus for 3 fucking hours on Legos. Not a peep. I've watched this. He doesn't have any sort of integral issue. You are literally teaching him that this is okay. And then he's coming home realizing that the rules are different, and that if he asserts this behavior, we might suddenly start to believe that he's incapable, despite the fact that he otherwise was perfectly fine. And they don't want to tell us things like, who did he hit today? So that, we can kind of support them and support that, because they don't fucking care. It's like... And they treat it like it's worse if he says shit, fuck, damn, or anything else than if he hits someone. And that is not how things should be. Words are not worse than hitting someone. So anyway, I reached point. I called his dad. He's coming home. I told Chris I don't want to hear from him until his dad gets home. I can't do this. I'm shaking. We haven't had problems like this in years. And suddenly, he's seeing how much of this he can bring back. All because, they don't realize how significant this is. Chris doesn't need to get up out of his seat and walk around the classroom. You need to tell him that he needs to be sitting his butt down. You can't just be like, Chris, I told you more than once to sit down. Now I'm going to take a point. You don't even tell him? He needs to know that. This is something that needs to be stated. Chris, this is not how you're behaving. This is not behaving. You need to sit down and do your work. He literally thinks that he can get away with this stuff. This isn't stuff that he does at home. At home, he breezes through a homework packet in like 10 minutes. Then there's usually like that one page that he doesn't like the activity, and he'll sit on that for a day and then he'll finish it. During the entire course of the time that we were sitting in that classroom, Chris did not finish a single assignment. He did not even get past the second item on the sheet. And we saw him get up and walk around, and one of us had to tell him, Chris, you need to sit down. Because the teachers did not say a word. And they were like, oh, he's so much more focused with you here. That was actually the opposite of him focused. That was him distracted. It's like, if that is what he is like whenever he is distracted, I want to know what he's like in that classroom whenever he knows that his family is not there. And he thinks that he can get away with this because he asserts that this behavior is okay at school. He just behaves like this at school, and they think that this is what he's like. So they just let him do it. Fucking hate special education classrooms. And then this is what we deal with afterwards, while he's trying to, sort of figure out a balance between, because they're setting a lower standard than he lives at home and any other place. He has normal kid problems. He handles being redirected like a normal kid. And this is not okay. I should not be sitting, with piles of his toys thrown around me. You can't see it, but I should not be sitting here with, broken toys because he wasn't getting his way. I shouldn't be sitting here, in the chaos. This shouldn't have even happened. This wouldn't have even happened if they didn't make him think that basically he was in control at school. The extent of control that they are giving him is too much. There's you can choose what color you write with, and there's you can just do whatever you want. And they were literally just letting him walk around, do whatever he wanted. You can't do that. At this point, I'm like, you know what? Forget all the things we've gone through. We'll just homeschool and figure it out from there. Because I'm not dealing with this anymore. We'll get certified. You know what? We can't deal with this anymore. And it's not even Chris. Specifically, it's the fact that the environments at school, they don't listen. Whenever they do listen, then they pick and choose what they want to hear. And it's like they can't conceive that what we're telling them is true. And we're just like, you know what? He's gifted. And he's got some stuff in his history. He needs to be homeschooled. Because I can't do this anymore. I can't do this every fucking year. Every fucking school year. We get him straightened out during the summer. And then he's good, and then they mess him up again. They project because they think that he should be less capable, I guess. They project, and he responds to this. And this is, even a better situation than his last class. This is the best that he's been in since kindergarten. And, the teacher literally told us that she doesn't want us to have any sort of consequence at home whenever he's hit somebody at school. Bitch, please. Every kid has consequences whenever they hit somebody at school. Normal kids, special kids. It doesn't matter. They're all special. They need consequences. They need to know that, if they do stuff at school, that the parents will find out. They need to know that you will know this. Because sometimes, that's where the disconnect happens. They think that they can get away with it, and then they think that they are getting away with it. And I can't do this no more. We're moving to a different area soon. We got told that the place is going to be ready in a couple weeks. So we're thinking about a month. We've already told the landlord whether he listens or not. We don't know, but we're saving the text. Also saving all the text where we told them what needs to be done to this place and some recommendations for, hey, if you do this, you could charge more rent, since that's where your interests lie. You could, fix these things, have a professional come in here and look at these things, because this place hasn't had anybody look at the wiring or the plumbing since the 70s. And I'm not exaggerating. The banister is the original. As far as I know, it's the original. It still has the stripes on it underneath the white paint. Yeah. I know this? Because some of the white paint has come off. This place, it still has a crank window in the master suite. I can't even. He won't fix anything. The pipes, this place needs, it's, I've been on good authority that the place still has copper pipes. Yeah. The hot water heater needs TLC. The owner didn't want to deal with it, so only one of the things was replaced, and the other one needs it. Because it has 2 chambers, and yeah. Some of the fixtures need replaced, and we've just kind of been fixing some stuff on our own, And now he's talking about raising the rent. And I'm like, hold on now. And only did we just now find out that we could have been showing receipts, putting it in writing, and deducting the repairs that we did from our own rent. Because landlord-tenant laws. That would have been helpful. He doesn't want to keep up the property. He wants to pay more. And, he just brought this up, and I called up the person that we were waiting on, and I was like, do you know when this place is going to be done? Because this is going on. I can't anymore. In order to take a bath, we have to use the shower head that we bought to fill up the bathtub. Because he hasn't taken care of the pipes, like we've told him repeatedly, even the thing that we bought has become clogged inside. There's more buildup because the pipes had more buildup, not just going out but coming in. We're just kind of we're done. We've lived here for 7 years. We lived here through epic levels of bullshit in the years where this place was changing hands and owners and all that. We can't do it anymore. We can't do this anymore. And, and then we've got this at Chris's school where they're basically just... We can't do it. So I'm going to look up and I'm going to find a group of homeschoolers, and we're going to try and actively build a group of people around us who already do this stuff. That way he won't be isolated from it. Because you don't want kids to be isolated doing homeschooling. You want them to still get that social development, and that's what we've been worried about. And I was actually just telling his teacher that the other day, and you know what, now I'm just I don't care. Because this is social development in the opposite direction. And this is driving us apart, not me and Jean, but this is just it's driving us up the wall. We can't take the effect of their actions and what they let him get away with at school and how he takes this. You can't. And instead of telling him to just stop kicking his feet, they didn't stand up to his testing. They put something on his chair that he just enjoys kicking more. Chris has been playing this, he plays this game. Because, to begin with, whenever he was in foster care, they tried to make him autistic. They tried to say that they weren't potty training him because he couldn't be potty trained. They tried to do a whole bunch of things like that. And as it turned out, he was actually capable of talking. He was actually capable of learning how to use the bathroom. And he was actually a pretty quick study. But by the time we got him, he was completely against, using words because he hadn't been doing so. He was completely against learning how to go to the bathroom, and the retaliation for enforcing this as the standard and was to smear poop on the walls. I mean, there was a level of shit I dealt with. A level of shit that his dad dealt with, and primarily I was the one at home during this time. I literally had a job at that point and quit because Chris could not handle it. He just didn't handle it. And every time I would go to a job interview, he'd act out. There was a couple I missed straight up because he would just go terror on us because he wanted to control everything. And now he's getting into this where he feels like he's doing that at school now. So he's coming home and he's acting like this. I can't do this anymore. I can't. They don't let him do this at daycare. He doesn't come back from daycare like this. It is only going to school that he's like this. At this point, we're thinking maybe do daycare a couple times a week once we get everything moved and all that. Daycare a couple times a week to get him socializing with other kids. Homeschool. Because daycare doesn't let him get away with this shit. He knows at daycare that he either listens or he doesn't. He knows that there are consequences. He knows that he's not going to get what he wants if he behaves that way. At school, the more he does it, the more they get comfortable with it, and the more that they assume that this is him. No. This is him thinking that he's going to subvert the rules. And then this is your reaction to that. And it is a shitty reaction, especially as we have told them time and time again. He does not act that way at home. There is some level of he doesn't like rules. He doesn't particularly like group projects if it's not clear who's doing what. We know his strengths and weaknesses. We know he's bored out of his mind. And we know that he's basically power tripping in the classroom. He can be manipulative. All kids can. But if you don't even have the brain power or the perception to even notice, because you're so busy accepting this as if this is unilaterally that kid, as if, there's just something wrong with them, so they behave this way. No! Any kid in this situation, if you put them in a situation like that, they will behave like this. And then, we'd gotten him to start taking accountability. Then this stuff starts to happen this way. And then he starts on the, you're doing this to me. Why are you doing this to me? And I'm like, no, you did this to yourself. And see, this is something that he gets into whenever he feels like he's controlling the environment. Then it's not like these are consequences for his actions. It's like, oh, well, you're doing this to me because I am king of the roost. That's sort of the attitude that takes hold of him. You cannot do that. You cannot let him get there. I cannot even anymore. What?